call. Thank you. Okay, Vice Mayor Landry.
I can't hear you guys.
One more time.
What you're asking me to say here? Present.
Mayor Bybee.
Present. At this time, I'd like to invite Shirley Lawfer up to lead the Pledge of Allegiance in recognition of her service as the City of Campbell's Source-Wise Advisory Council representative. If you all could please stand, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Shirley. Tonight we have several special presentations and proclamations. The first one is a proclamation declaring the month of October as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Campbell. And in my proclamation, I highlight that over 281,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in the United States each year, and that early detection and regular screenings are the most reliable way to detect and treat breast cancer. National Breast Cancer Awareness Month is an annual campaign held each October to increase awareness, encourage early detection, and honor those who have battled this disease. Unfortunately, the representative from the Cancer Society was unable to be here tonight, so we'll be sure that this proclamation is mailed out to the organization. The second item on the agenda is to recognize Shirley Lawfer for serving 2 terms, 6 years, as the Source-Wise Advisory Council representative for the City of Campbell. And I invite Tina Wong Erling, Senior Services Supervisor, up to introduce Ms. Lawfer.
Good evening, Mayor Bybee and members of City Council. It's really a pleasure to be here this evening to recognize Shirley Lawfer. So for the past 6 years, 2 terms, Shirley has served as a City of Campbell's Advisory Council member for the Source-Wise, which is the area agency on aging for our county. Source-Wise provides a variety of programs for older adults and persons with disabilities. During her tenure, Shirley has served on a variety of committees that really help to advance senior services in our county. And we want to really thank her and recognize her this evening. Also wanted to note that her experience as a retired psychologist and her passion for serving the community has really greatly benefited Campbell as well as the entire older adult community. So thank you very much for your service. Thank you.
Congratulations, Shirley. And I'd like to open it up to my council colleagues if they'd like to offer some congratulations. Councilmember Furtado.
Yes, I'd like to add my congratulations and also thanks for your persistence and your hard work and the dedication to the duties of that particular organization. So thanks so much.
Councilmember Lopez.
I really appreciate it as well. Our volunteers are such an important part of the community and the ways in which you've given back. So really appreciate it and really supporting our efforts to be accessible and be a welcoming and inclusive place for everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your service, and especially for the elderly, oftentimes, sadly, their voices are unheard. So appreciate you being out there and making them heard. Thank you very much.
And Vice Mayor Landry.
Yes, Shirley, I just want to say thank you for 6 years of service. You did a great job, and it's people like you and volunteers like you that make Campbell the great place that we are.
And I would like to add, Shirley, too, and say thank you for your leadership and advocacy and the positive impact you had on the mission of Source-Wise Advisory Council. Our adult population really, you have served them well, and I'm sure that they appreciate it as much as the City Council does. And I would like to present you with a couple of certificates, and the one reads, in recognition and grateful appreciation for 6 years of service as the City of Campbell's representative on the Source-Wise Advisory Council. And the second is a certificate for leading the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'll come down and present it to you. Would you like to say a few words?
I hadn't prepared anything, but I wanted to actually thank the City of Campbell, the Civic Improvement Commission, and particularly Tina. It's really been an honor to serve Campbell in this way. I love living in Campbell, and I really, when I retired, wanted an opportunity to be a part of the community. So this has been a wonderful experience for me also. So thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Our third presentation this evening is the 2023-24 Campbell Youth Commission introduction, and I'd like to invite Gracie Farrell, our Recreation Coordinator, up to introduce the item. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of Council. My name is Gracie Farrell, and I'm the Recreation Program Coordinator for our Campbell Recreation Department, and I'm serving as the staff liaison for our Campbell Youth Commission. I'm excited for a new term this year with our Youth Commission, and it is my pleasure to introduce you all tonight to this year's chair, Chloe Oliveira, who will be introducing our Youth Commissioners.
Welcome.
Good evening again, Honorable Mayor and members of Council. It is my honor to serve as chair of the Campbell Youth Commission. The Youth Commission is made up of 14 members. We have 14 here with us tonight, and I would like to take this opportunity to introduce them to you. Commissioners, as I introduce you, please stand. Next slide. Ion Raza, 9th grade, Westmont High School. Caleb Kim, 10th grade, Bellarmine College Prep. Ellie Zhu, 9th grade, the Harker School. Harrison Hughes, 9th grade, Westmont High School. Joe Guyon, 12th grade, Prospect High School. Justin Buran, 8th grade, Rolling Hills Middle School. Mason Johnson, 10th grade, Lincoln High School. Maya Yamagishi, 11th grade, Archbishop Mitty High School. Samita Tola, 8th grade, Rolling Hills Middle School. Sammy Azrat, 12th grade, Prospect High School. Sophie Tuan, 9th grade, Westmont High School. Vineet Rao, 12th grade, Prospect High School. Yasmin Day, 9th grade, Westmont High School. At this time, I would like to invite two of my fellow commissioners, Vineet and Ion, to the podium as we present this year's work plans. Next slide. The commissioners met in August for a retreat to go over goals and objectives for this year. The commissioners had a lot of great ideas, and we were able to narrow them down into 5 major working groups that we will share with you tonight.
Thank you, Chloe. The first one being mental wellness. The goals for this include cultivating empowerment and mental wellness for teens through social and educational events and opportunities. The second working group is career and educational support. The goals for this subcommittee include organizing events that bring job opportunities to teens and supporting college preparation and readiness. We plan to offer a job fair and find partnership opportunities with our schools to support college preparation workshops.
The third working group revolves around physical health. Some of the goals for the subcommittee include encouraging physical activity amongst teens and promoting healthy eating habits. A proposed project to support these efforts is by hosting a Campbell Weight Room and open gym day for teens that encompasses all things physical health. The fourth group is safety. This committee's goals are centered around preparing teens for unexpected events and educating them on how to stay safe in neighborhood, household, and personal safety. We propose to offer an awareness week event dedicated to various safety topics, including bicycle and automobile safety, as well as nighttime safety.
Our fifth and final working group this year is environmental sustainability. Our goal for this subcommittee is to combat environmental issues and climate change by promoting events that promote recycling, environmental upkeep, and the appreciation of nature. We plan to support this goal by collaborating on park cleanup events and donation drives.
This concludes our work plans for this year. We plan to come back mid-year and the end of term to provide updates to council. Thank you, and we are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the council or any comments that the council would like to share? Councilmember Furtado.
Just wanted to make a few comments and say thank you very much for serving and for taking the time to develop this set of goals. They're a very robust set of goals. I think they're all issues that are very important, not only to your generation, but to the future as well. And I just wanted to assure you that your perspective and your thoughts, recommendations, questions are all important to us, so that those of us from a different generation can appreciate some of the things that are important to you in your generation, and that we might be able to assist you in this process. So thank you and best wishes.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Yes. Thank you very much to the Youth Commission for coming tonight. It's great to see young people engaged in the city and the city process and wanting to give back to our community. I think what you've done aligns with a lot of our strategic planning. We have sustainability, community engagement, and to benefits to the community as our council strategic elements. And so I appreciate that yours align with what we're doing. One question, are you going to do coffee and politics this year?
That is something that we'll have to get back to the whole commission about, but it is something we would be interested in.
Because that was such a great event to be able to share and hear input. So I totally support you guys holding that again this year.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yeah, thanks for being here. My comments are really directed more to staff, which is that I really hope that through the rest of this year, if there's, couldn't agree more with what the Vice Mayor said about the alignment with our priorities. And so for staff, if there's any opportunities to engage with council throughout the year rather than just at the end of the commission's time, we would certainly welcome that for all the reasons that have been said and just the importance and any other kind of events we could do together. But I think there's a lot of support from this council for that. But regardless, really appreciate for your work for taking on these particular priorities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Scazola.
Yeah, there's few things that I love more than seeing our youth actually get involved and want to do something for the community. And I really, truly believe that at this point in time, the current climate out there in the nation, we need to focus more on our own communities, and you are doing exactly that. And I really appreciate what I'm seeing here, the things that you're focusing on. And I also agree. I hope that we can all work together, and please reach out to us anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will add that I know that it's a very competitive process to be selected to the Youth Commission. So congratulations to all of you. And I wish you well in your endeavor this year in your work plan. And I think it would be appropriate to do a group photo.
Okay.
If Lauren would be willing to take it, maybe you could stand on the front.
You ready?
Sure.
All people back.
There we go.
Thank you. And our final presentation tonight is the Silicon Valley Clean Energy Showcase Award presentation. And I would like to ask Councilmember Elliot Scazola, who currently serves on the Silicon Valley Clean Energy Board of Directors, to introduce the presentation.
So glad to see you guys. I gotta say, I truly am proud to serve on the board of directors. Not only do they have a mission of reducing dependence on fossil fuels by providing clean energy and innovative programs for our community. I remember when I first was learning about everything, I couldn't believe when I heard, I'm like, wait a second. Not only are we providing cleaner energy, but we're providing it cheaper? Really? That's a win-win in my book. I'm thrilled. We have our representatives here from SVCE tonight to share more about the Electric Showcase Awards and to congratulate our Campbell winner, Judy Wang.
Thank you, Mayor
Welcome.
and council members, for having us here this evening. My name is Pamela Leonard. I'm the Deputy Director of Marketing and Communications at Silicon Valley Clean Energy. We're proud to have been serving Campbell residents and businesses, about 96% of all residents and businesses, with clean electricity since 2017. We're here tonight because we also offer all these programs that Councilmember Scazola talked about, and one of those includes rebates up to $8,000 for customers to go electric, to do their part to fight climate change, reducing emissions from gas use to using the clean electricity we provide, and fight pollution locally. And so these Electric Showcase Awards, there's a winner tonight that we are recognizing, who is someone leading the way in electrifying their home and taking personal action. And of the 16 winners we recognized across the 13 jurisdictions we serve in the county is Judy Wang, who's a Campbell resident. Judy has upgraded to a heat pump water heater, an electric vehicle, and has rooftop solar. When asked about her experience of transitioning to electric technologies, she said, "Since making the switch, I haven't looked back, and I'm saving money and saving up the money to go fully electric, one appliance at a time." If you would like to tour more electric homes, there is the Electric Home Tours happening on Saturday, October 14th. We're having a special event for public officials starting at 9 a.m. So invitations have been sent via email with more reminders to come. It is a great opportunity to learn more about going electric and this movement that we're seeing many residents do across the county and here in Campbell. So thank you so much for your time, and congratulations to Judy, who is unable to be here this evening, but with your permission, we would like to take a photo with the certificate we have brought that we will be getting to her. Certainly. Thank you.
Okay, tonight we have no communications and petitions. The next item on the agenda is oral requests. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the City Council on any matter not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council are requested but not required to complete a speaker's card. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. The law generally prohibits the council from discussion or taking action on such items. However, the council may instruct staff accordingly regarding oral requests. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on any item not on tonight's agenda? And I do have one, excuse me, speaker card, Rich Culbertson.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I appreciate it. I went to a little bitty library around the corner. It's about this big. It's about 10 by 10. It's not 3 by 6, 6 down. And they tell me that some interesting information is that Measure 0 or O, you're funded and you're going to dig a hole in the short future and make a library and add to the police department, something they can feel safe in. Whether it's Pittsburgh Steel or otherwise. So I'm curious as to what's going on with the library and the police department and when the buildings are going. And by the way, I did look at your website on projects and there's no updates that are very recent. So I'll leave it at that. And I'm looking forward to taking my grandkids that started out, what was it, 6 years ago? They're 9, so they were 3 years old, and Grandpa was hoping that he could have himself his own personal chair, and 3 of them bringing the books for Grandpa to read. And a lot of them would be how to fix this and how to fix that, and how to go fishing and how to go hunt. So that would be what Grandpa is looking for. And I really enjoy your beautiful little town. It reminds me of the village I lived in, which now has been 50 years here. So whatever you got, whatever you could bring forward, I appreciate to hear about it. And I'm glad it's not an August day in here. Thanks, folks.
Thank you for attending and for your information. Since there's no information on the website, I'll let you know that the groundbreaking for the library is scheduled for November 10th. So it's in the very near future. And the bid opening for the police building is tomorrow. So activity is starting to happen, so stay tuned.
And if I could just add briefly, I know staff will follow up with all the details, but consider yourself invited. But I do want to stress the importance of updating that website. That's something that I've stressed too, so that information is easily accessible in the future.
Anne, I can't hear you. You're on mute or something.
Thank you. How's that? October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. October was first declared as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month in 1989. Since then, October has been a time to acknowledge domestic violence survivors and raise awareness. Domestic violence is prevalent in every community and affects all people. If you or a loved one are experiencing domestic violence and need assistance, call Safe Chat Silicon Valley at 408-279-2962. And I have issued a proclamation and it'll be mailed to the organization this week. Portions of Santa Clara County have been placed under quarantine for the Oriental fruit fly following the detection of multiple flies in Santa Clara and surrounding counties. Detections in the cities of Santa Clara County have resulted in a quarantine zone covering 112 square miles, which include some areas in Campbell. To find out more about this pest and quarantine boundaries, please visit cdfa.ca.gov. The City Clerk's Office is accepting applications for 2 positions in the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. These are full-term appointments expiring August 2028. To find out more about this committee or to apply, please contact the City Clerk's Office at 408-866-2117 or visit the city's website at campbellca.gov. The Heritage Theater will kick off their first show this season with Queen of the Night, Remembering Whitney, a tribute to Whitney Houston starring Trina Johnson Finn. The concert will be on Saturday, October 7th at 8 p.m. in the Heritage Theater. Tickets can be purchased at heritagetheater.org. Assemblymember Mark Berman is hosting a virtual youth town hall event on Saturday, October 14th from 12 to 1:30 p.m. This event is open to all teens and young adults who want to engage with their elected officials. To find out more, call 650-324-0224. The City of Campbell will host its annual citywide garage sale on Saturday, October 14th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. For sale and map locations, please visit the city's website at campbellca.gov. Come out with your family and friends for the 28th Annual Oktoberfest on Saturday, October 21 and Sunday, October 22nd from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. There will be a beer garden filled with top-notch German beers, mouth-watering, authentic German food and music, and 100-plus arts and crafts booths in the downtown area. There is still time to participate in the 16th Annual Oktoberfest 5K and 10K fun run at Campbell Park on Saturday, October 21st at 9 a.m. For more information, please visit campbellca.gov. And finally, there is a free youth heart screening at the Campbell Community Center, Orchard City Banquet Hall on Saturday, October 28th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. For additional information, please visit campbellca.gov. Next is the consent calendar. Note that all matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the City Council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a request is made by a member of the City Council, city staff, or a member of the public. Any person wishing to speak on any item on the consent calendar should ask to have the item removed from the consent calendar prior to the time the council votes to approve. If removed, the item will be discussed in the order in which it appears. Are there any council members, staff, or members of the public that would like to pull an item from the consent calendar? Anybody online? With that, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar items 5 through
11. So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion by Vice Mayor Landry and a second by Councilmember Lopez to approve the consent calendar items 5 through 11. Roll call.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye. Next is public hearings and introduction of ordinances. Members of the public may be allotted up to 2 minutes to comment on any public hearing item. Applicants, appellants, and the representatives may be allotted up to a total of 5 minutes for opening statements and up to a total of 3 minutes maximum for closing statements. Items requested, recommended for continuance are subject to council's consent at the meeting. First, do any council members have any disclosures? Councilmember Lopez?
Yeah, I do want to disclose I met with representatives of the site, the application.
Thank you. And Vice Mayor Landry?
Yes, I want to disclose that I did meet with the design team for the gas station.
Thank you. Item 12 is a public hearing to consider an appeal of the Planning Commission's denial of a conditional use permit with site and architectural review to allow reconstruction of a Shell gasoline service station with an expanded convenience store, including off-site alcoholic beverage sales, a drive-through car wash, and 24-hour operational hours, and a tree removal permit of all on-site trees for property located at 570 East Hamilton Avenue, file number PLN 22-44. And I would note for the record that the applicant has requested a continuance of the item. And our presenter is Community Development Director Rob Eastwood.
Council members, Mayor Bybee, nothing much to add. You have received a request for continuance from the applicant. Staff is supportive of the request. Recommend open hearing, accept any testimony, and continue the hearing to November 7th.
Thank you. Are there any questions of council? Okay, with anyone online?
Me.
Yes, Vice Mayor Landry.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if it's to attorney or to Rob. If we are allowed to say anything about the appeal, or if we are only deciding on the continuance.
Yes, I will take that question. Well, I think the first question you need to decide is whether or not you will continue it. If you decide not to continue it, then clearly you can discuss and take action on the application itself. If you do have questions regarding the application, you certainly can raise them at this time.
So I have a question for staff. Hi, Rob.
Hello.
So in the memo, it talks about things that the Planning Commission commented on and things that they thought did not meet our policy or that should be changed. If we grant the continuance, does the applicant have the opportunity to address those concerns and come back with any revised drawings?
They have an opportunity to address the concerns. It's a de novo hearing, so you can accept all testimony and evidence from the Planning Commission hearing and them and making your decision on the project. If they do modify the project, we would have to evaluate to the extent it is modified. If it's radically changed, would it have to go back through the process? But if it would depend on what they're proposing to modify.
If they're mostly just addressing the Planning Commission comments, would that be considered a new application, or it's just they could come with the responses?
If they only have responses to comments, they simply provide those to the council and you'd consider them in your decision.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on the item? And is there anyone online? I don't see anyone. So I'll bring it back to council for discussion or decision on whether to continue.
Since the applicant is not here and has requested a continuance, our normal policy is to allow such a continuance. They have not been here before to present their case. So I think it's appropriate to for the council to continue the matter to a future meeting.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'll move that we continue this item to a date certain. Is it still date certain of November 7th, 2023?
I'll second that.
Thank you. So I will leave the public hearing open, and there is a motion and a second by Councilmember Furtado and Vice Mayor Landry to continue the item to November 7th. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scola.
Aye.
Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye. The next category is unfinished business, and item 15 is item 15, the legislative advocacy principles update, and our presenter is Assistant City Manager Angelique Gaeta.
I believe we're on item 13 first. Honorable Mayor, which is the Oktoberfest.
Oh, sorry, my page stuck together.
That's okay. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. What you have in front of you with this item is an application for a downtown special event permit fee. And as you'll see from the staff report, staff does recommend granting that request for a permit fee. If the council agrees, then the next question becomes whether or not to grant the next request by the chamber, which is for a waiver fee request. And staff has met with members of the chamber to go through their financials for last year's event to confirm that they do in fact qualify for a fee waiver. The question is at what level. Our policy specifically provides that if an applicant qualifies for a fee waiver, that they can be given up to a 25% reduction in fees. However, the Chamber of Commerce is requesting instead that they not be charged more than $35,000 for this permit. The staff report indicates that the total cost to the city for staff time and processing of permit and setup for the day of the event and the breakdown is an estimated $65,000. A 25% waiver of the fee would amount to a reduction of approximately $16,250. A not to exceed would would result in a loss of $30,000 to the city. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And I do note that Ken Johnson is here from the chamber.
Thank you, Angelique. Are there any questions of the council? Vice Mayor Landry, any questions? Okay, I will then open it up for public comment, and I do have one speaker card, Terry Hines.
Good evening.
Hello.
Thank you very much. Terry Hines of 2276 Central Park Drive in Campbell, 17-year resident, 17-year Campbell business owner, Measure O committee member, and board member of the Campbell Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and the council members and virtual council members as well for hearing this Oktoberfest permit request. The Campbell Chamber of Commerce works to bring many events to this community, with Oktoberfest as a premier annual event. With expected 40,000 attendees, it brings many benefits to the visibility to the city and revenue to local businesses. We understand the cost to the city, much of it for public safety, and I continue to be a vocal and monetary supporter of the City of Campbell Police Department on striving and their efforts to strive to ensure the safety of our community. The nonprofit Campbell Chamber of Commerce staff have been working tirelessly for months, preparing for a successful event. With it, we ask the council to accept the recommendation of the city staff for the $35,000 permit fee. Thank you, and please vote aye.
Thank you, Terry. Anyone else? Ken Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Ken Johnson, Executive Director of the Campbell Chamber of Commerce. I'm learning city, so I think let me be clear. The first part of yours is to accept the proposal. First, to have the permit. The second is what do we do about fees? Let me give you a little bit of background again, which is prior to 2019, when the city went to a full cost recovery model, we also received a 25% reduction. When the full cost recovery model kicked in 2019, our fees doubled, in some cases tripled, for what we saw from city events. You were very generous in going back and looking at some of our past events and offering us a discount beyond the 25%, which is the standard fee waiver that we've been given. And so if we didn't ask for a 50%, which is what you'd also given us in the past for this one, the $35,000 budget number for us will provide more money to the city than a 50% waiver had we asked for that. So I am asking you to consider a budgetary relief for us of a $35,000 not to exceed amount for the Oktoberfest. And Terry was nice enough to say 40,000. The report says 50. If Mountain View gets 100,000 for the art festival, I'm going to say we get 120 for Oktoberfest. So we bring a lot of people to downtown here, and I'm very proud of the fact that it remains a safe and family-friendly event to promote what we have in downtown in our beautiful city. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ken. Anyone else in the chamber wishing to speak, or anyone online? With that, I'll close public comment and bring it back to council for discussion. Councilmember Furtado.
Thank you. I believe that the chamber has been a very good participant for us in the city. Our local businesses have suffered through the pandemic and are coming back. And I think this kind of event benefits the entire community. It benefits businesses, of course. It gives them exposure to the fact that they're there and the types of goods and services they provide. And it's also good for the city as well. I've always said that a city really isn't a city if it doesn't have residents and it doesn't have businesses. And we need both elements in order for us to really call ourselves a city. And so I think it's important that we support events like this. And I would be in favor of the, first of all, granting the permit, of course, but also granting the waiver requested of $35,000.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Landry.
Right. How to find unmute. Yeah, I support authorizing the permit. I also support the fee reduction or the cap on the fee. I think the chamber provides great public benefit. We get thousands, tens of thousands of people coming to this event. And not only does it support the festival itself, but it supports the local businesses in our downtown So there, to me, it's a great event, and I support both motions.
Thank you. Councilmember Scazola?
Yeah, I'm fully in support of staff recommendations. Now I'm curious to weigh in with council maybe about possibly having a future study session, maybe early next year sometime, and make sure that staff, us, and the chamber are kind of all on the same page, and maybe do something similar where what we just voted on to have events like Creepy Crawly and the other ones where we have like a 5-year-ish kind of plan where we don't have to keep coming back to council. So I'm curious to weigh in, like have you guys weigh in on something like that maybe, if you guys are interested in that at all.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yeah, first off, I'll say I fully thank you, Terry and Ken, for being here and for your work on behalf of the chamber and community, and to all of your volunteers. For all the reasons that have been said, couldn't be more supportive of the staff recommendation, and thank you to the chamber for being good partners throughout this process. I am interested in that idea. It did cross my mind last time we had a similar discussion. I don't know that a study session is the best way. I don't know that it's not, but you know, I support the goal of having some kind of clarity long term, you know, whatever that ends up looking like.
Okay, thank you. And so I'm going to be the lone man out here. And while I certainly support the Oktoberfest and issuing the permit, I'm not supportive of the additional fee waiver. We do have a downtown special events policy that recognizes community events such as this. And yes, they do bring economic benefit to the city and provide community and cultural enrichment, but it also provides guidelines for fee waivers that considers the financial impact to the city while helping organizations offset their costs. And given the financial impacts of COVID, the city was very generous in approving greater fee waivers for past festivals, the 22 Oktoberfest and the 2023 Boogie event. And both events were very successful given the financial information provided to the city. And for that reason, I believe that the chamber is eligible for a 25% waiver for this event. Now that we're post-pandemic and conditions are returning to normal, I believe it is important that we adhere to the council policy regarding fee waivers. As I mentioned, the intent of the policy was to help offset costs while considering budgetary impacts to the city, and it does impact the city's budget. With that, if this isn't the first time that we've had this discussion up here, and I've been the lone woman out, but if it's the will of the council to consider greater fee waivers in the future, then we should probably review the policy. But in the meantime, I will support the policy and cannot support the additional fee waiver. So I don't know if there's any discussion on that, but if not, we can entertain a motion.
I wonder if before making a motion, would it be helpful to break this into 2 parts to have the vote? Although I'm open-minded on how we want to do it.
It's fine. The chamber knows I support the festival and the permit. It's the fee waiver that's and I'm very policy oriented, and I believe that we should be adhering to our policies. So.
And I have a question for staff. The language in the recommendation is to consider a resolution approving the request. Is it appropriate to read that, or is there stronger language that would provide more clarity?
It sounds like you have two resolutions before you, one for the permit and one for the fee, so you probably should take them separately.
Okay. So I'm happy to make a motion. I'll follow that advice and do one at a time, if that would provide clarity. I move that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the Campbell Chamber of Commerce's application for a downtown special event permit for their 2023 October Festival.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion by Councilmember Lopez and a second by Councilmember Scazola to approve a resolution approving the special event permit for the Oktoberfest.
Roll call. Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye. And then we need a second motion for the fee waiver.
I'm happy to take that motion. Before I do, I want to point out, because I misspoke in my own comments, but that the staff recommendation is to consider the resolution. So appreciate that. Just want to make that clear. So I'll make a motion that the City Council approve the Campbell Chamber of Commerce's request to receive a fee waiver with a not to exceed permit fee of $35,000.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion by Councilmember Lopez and a second by Councilmember Scazola to approve the fee waiver not to exceed $35,000.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
No. Okay, great. The next item is item 14, water tower lighting policy updates. And again, our presenter is Assistant City Manager Angelique Gaeta.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. This matter involves a recommendation by staff to update the water tower lighting policy to include Indigenous Peoples Day on the same day that Columbus Day is recognized in the water tower lighting schedule. This follows a federal proclamation by President Biden for the last 2 years to recognize Native American history and culture. It also follows feedback that we received over the last year, particularly around the lighting of the water tower for Columbus Day last year. So in response to what's happening at a federal level and in response to community feedback, this is a recommendation we're bringing forward to the council to consider. If the council desires to add Indigenous Peoples Day to the schedule as the same day that we have for lighting Columbus Day, then we would ask the council to provide staff direction on the color theme. Currently on the schedule, the color theme shown for Columbus Day is red, white, and blue. In your staff report, you have a list of all the other events that are also have the water tower lit in red, white, and blue themes, just for a point of reference. And with that, we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Angelique. Are there any questions of council? Councilmember Scazola?
Yeah, I'm curious why we're recognizing Columbus Day still.
It's in the policy and we're following the policy. So there is not a recommendation with regard to Columbus Day specifically. This is to add Indigenous Peoples Day, but council can.
I understand that, but what it just seems crazy to me to have the Indigenous peoples and Columbus combined, you know, in the colors and on the same day. I would totally be in full support of Indigenous Peoples Day, but it just, I don't know, for me, and I'm the one with the Italian name, and I remember being so proud, oh, Columbus, oh, Italian, and all this, and then learned my history and then became horrified. And so I'm very much an advocate for the support of Indigenous Peoples Day, but it just, to me, to light up the tower with both seems like in conflict to me personally. I'm kind of curious maybe if we can have a discussion, maybe at a later date or whatever, but I'm not comfortable with it, quite frankly.
Any other questions of council? Vice Mayor Landry?
Did we reach out to the local Indigenous tribe to find out what colors they would recommend?
No, we did not.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, council member.
I'm curious too, if there were people in the community that were advocating for continuing with Columbus Day. Did we get comments on the other end? Because it sounds like there is a lot of widening support for Indigenous Peoples Day. I have not heard, at least I haven't, support for Columbus.
You know, I could provide the perspective as I understood it over the last year and the feedback we got. It's just my perspective. Certainly doesn't represent probably everyone's thoughts, but it sounded like the questions and criticisms was more about the city picking and choosing which ones to recognize and yet not also recognizing the other ones versus being inclusive. If you're going to recognize one, recognize everything. And that was generally the theme of the comments. More of the question of the city's ability to actually select one over the other as a preference, not recognizing both. And I would also say that our policy permits doesn't require you to recognize federal holidays, but the idea is Columbus Day is still listed as a federal holiday. But we also recognize, while they have not changed the federal holiday, that President Biden has also recognized, though it's declared a federal holiday, is also recognizing Indigenous people. So we're sort of trying to follow that same model and be inclusive in recognizing both. That's the recommendation, but you certainly can take other discretion, provide instruction if you want to like one or the other or neither.
Yeah, I'm definitely all for lighting the tower up in Indigenous Peoples' Days colors, whichever we decide on. It just feels like kind of like a B-52 bomber, you know, bombing people, and it has a peace sign. It's like, oh, cool, you know. It's like just, you know, that's just how I feel about it. And so I don't know if anyone else.
We're in the middle of questions.
Yes.
Any other questions of the council? Is there anyone in the audience or a member of the public that would like to speak on this item? And nobody online? Okay, I'll bring it back to council for discussion.
Thanks. Comments. First of all, I respect your opinion. I understand it. Personally, I would suggest that at this time we have honor of both. And I would suggest, therefore, that the color theme be changed. I would suggest the color brown as one color because it represents earth, it represents trees, and sort of the environment. And I would suggest for the other color, we have blue, which represents the sky, and again, the environment to a degree. On the other hand, blue is one of the three colors, red, white, and blue, that has traditionally been used. And those that wish to honor Columbus, it is a nod to that since there's a proposal to honor both. So I would suggest that the color theme be brown and blue.
Thank you. Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you. I want to start by saying that I respect and have no doubt about the intentions or perspective of anyone up here in the audience listening, our staff, any community members. So I would hope that goes without saying, but I want to make a point of it. I think this is probably for me one of the most difficult decisions I've had to consider. And for the reason I think it's very appropriate that it happen out in public in a setting like this. Elliot, to the last question that you asked, I do want to share my perspective of some of how it unfolded last year. And this is just my own personal perspective and understanding. And so others may disagree, which I have no problem with. But I think initially a lot of this came up because we follow our policy is to follow the federal calendar, and part of coming up with that policy, although some of this predates my time here, but was to have some transparency and clarity and a process so that the matter wouldn't come up every single time before the council, and so that it wasn't just at the prerogative of whoever happened to be serving as mayor at the time. So I think that was the intention behind having this policy, which happened prior. But last year when this came up, and I think following the last couple of years, some the difficult discussions and frankly divisions that there have been in the public, and I think an evolving understanding of what some of these traditions mean, and very strong, I think heartfelt feelings on both sides. Part of the policy is to announce on social media that we are lighting the tower for X reason. And again, this is my understanding and recollection interpretation of events. But when it came up, in that case, Columbus Day to light the tower, announcement went out on social media that attracted a number of comments and attention, mostly on Facebook, I think on Instagram as well, from people questioning why were we doing this. And eventually, again, my recollection is a number of the comments took on the tenor of really criticizing staff for putting this out, at which point I felt compelled to weigh in on my personal social media accounts of saying something to the extent of, look, council sets the policy, staff is following the policy, the buck stops with us. And I think it's fair and legitimate to raise these questions and have these concerns. And, here's why it unfolded this year, in this case last year, the way that it did. But don't blame staff and don't throw staff under the bus for this. Just trying to clarify for the public what it was. And so I think now we have the benefit of hindsight. I don't think anyone anticipated rightly or wrongly. And like I said, I think it's a fair and legitimate discussion to have, and I support having it in public. But that to me is some of the backstory and why I think it's appropriate, whatever goes forward, that our perspectives as council, as the decision makers and policy makers are on the record, and that the buck really stops with us, and that the public has clarity on what that means. So with that preamble, I'll say this just from my personal perspective, and I think I bring 2 points of view that I'll bring into this. One is as a historian, as someone who benefited after going to Campbell schools, had some incredible educational opportunities and studied history with some of the best people working in the field in American history. Went on and was able to get other degrees and have been published in magazines, have a book coming out. And what I read about is American history and the story of America. And the reason for that is because of the second perspective that I bring, which is as an American and as someone who is the son of immigrants, who is only up here and has only had the opportunities that I've had throughout my life because of being in this country and the incredible opportunities that affords. Opportunities that my father, who has a middle school education and worked in the fields back home, could never have imagined, and that I've been able to have. And so I carry that weight and the responsibility, and at least what I have come to understand in my perspective is that as an American, all of us share equally, all of us, no matter where we come from or our background, share equally and have equal claim to the opportunities that living here affords us, as well as to the responsibility that our history places upon us. And I think one of those responsibilities is to grapple with and understand that the complexities, that there aren't easy answers in this, that there aren't clear-cut good guys and bad guys, because history is not like that. It's not black and white. And our understanding evolves as we try to get better. It evolves as we make new discoveries and uncover that history. But as our national understanding evolves of what it means to be an American and to say that we are. So because of those perspectives, I can't support a policy. I'm open to some of what this goes forward and do look forward to seeing the discussion. But I can't support a policy that includes recognition of Columbus Day. So I'll end with that for now, because I really do work to come to every decision with an open mind and open perspective. And so I'm interested to see some of what the other possibilities for recognition or not recognition of this or that other, or color or what. But I'll just say, to start with and to put it out publicly for our community, who, again, I respect any and all viewpoints. It's not to single out any group, because I think the reasons that I don't feel comfortable recognizing Columbus Day are not because of any group in particular, but because I think responsibilities that, in my view, I think we all share as Americans. And so I can't see myself supporting it for that reason. And with that, I'll close for now and look forward to hearing others' perspectives. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Landry?
Yes, thank you. And I do appreciate, Sergio, your comments. And I'll just add one thing. You may be a family of immigrants. My family on both sides of my mother's side goes back to 1723 in this country. And I said to somebody one time, I'm not a Native American, but I'm an American native. My family has been in this country before we were the United States of America. And I take that with a lot of pride. And also with some sadness, because parts of my family didn't always do what I think they should have done. And we potentially had some slave owners. We potentially had some people that did fight against the Native Americans. And so I carry forward the American legacy of my family, but I look back in retrospect and say, what did we really do wrong, and where can we improve ourselves as we move forward? I think there has been a lot of injustice done to the indigenous population in this country throughout our history. And I only think it's fair that we recognize them and have a day for them. It's unfortunate when you read the memo, Biden originally assigned Indigenous People Day to October 11th, which did separate them to 2 different days. And that was in 21, but in 22, for some reason, he changed it back to October 10th. So I support having an Indigenous People Day. I support lighting the tower. I'm not comfortable that they both occur on the same day, as Elliot talked about. So I don't know if we want to recognize them on 2 separate days, even though the national holiday is for them to be the same day. But I also would like to have this come back next year prior to October to have a conversation of if we are recognizing every single federal holiday, or if we have a choice to pick which federal holidays we recognize, so that we can have a more comprehensive discussion about it. And, you know, I grew up in high school and elementary school. Columbus discovered America. Well, that is not true anymore. And we have found that the people were here coming down, especially through Maine and northeastern part of the United States. We're here long before Columbus did discover America. So like you mentioned, Sergio, as we move forward, history tends to clarify itself. We learn new information. So I support Indigenous People Day. I would prefer to have it on a separate day. And Dan, regarding the colors, I really like what you said about brown. I would never have thought of that, but brown represents earth, blue represents the sky, but I would throw in green to represent nature, because most of the indigenous people lived off of nature. So I would say brown, blue, and green.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And I'll add that I would support recognizing both. Since they're both recognized at the federal level, to me, pretending or erasing Columbus Day or taking it off is like erasing history, and it is part of our history. And to me, it's an opportunity, a teaching moment, so that we educate people today what happened in our history and some of the negative of it, and it inspires that people to learn and to do better and change their ways. And so for me, it's an opportunity to provide insight to people that may or may not be aware of the connotations of Columbus Day. So, and I like the color schemes. I think brown and blue and green would be appropriate. So that's my comments on it.
Can I have a follow-up comment then, Anne? If we are going to represent both, which that's fine, do we do it on different nights? Because if Columbus Day is red, white, and blue, and Indigenous People Day is different colors, should we do one on the 10th and one on the 11th?
I think it's recognized on the same day, Vice Mayor. I don't think there's...
No, I understand nationally it is, but do we need to do them both on the same day?
Well, that would be up to the council to decide that. I have a couple other comments first before we do a motion. So let me go to Councilmember Furtado.
First of all, I wanted to indicate my deep respect for all the comments that were made so far. The troubling history of our country, and I guess of other countries too, is this dichotomy of people doing good and doing bad. And sadly, all of our founding fathers, for all of what they did to create an independent country, create and sign the Declaration of Independence, fight the Revolutionary War, win, and write and establish the Constitution. Despite all those good things, most of them were all landowners, and they had deep flaws because most of them were slave owners too, which is very sad. And I don't want my comments, I almost hesitate to say anything because I don't want my comments to be interpreted, well, the good outweighs the bad. I don't believe that. It is sad. It's great about the good, but it is sad likewise that they had those thoughts and actions, and that so many people for so many years, even today, are still being discriminated against. This country, even from the Civil War and following, still has not learned its lessons, if you will. Although we're moving, I hope, in that direction of more equality. It's a troubling history. It's not all one or the other. And again, I don't mean to try to say, well, one balances the other. I just need to repeat that because I don't believe that. It's still a question unanswered. So that's kind of why I suggested that we recognize the federal designation. We could have more discussions, I think. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
I would say, though, that most of, if not all of our national holidays are more of either an idea, or it's more vague, like President's Day. So it's like, oh, all the presidents, like, yes, there's good and bad in all of them, I'm sure, but it's kind of just this overview of something. Like, this is a very specific Columbus Day, right? It's of this one man, and this one man, now, as a kid, I did not know this, I had to learn this, and to get the real history eventually. And when I found out the real history, I was horrified. He's a genocidal maniac. That's just the facts that have come out over time. And also, I would add that Columbus Day is a relatively new federal holiday too. And there's a whole history there. It's very interesting to see how it developed. I encourage anyone to read on the origins of it. That's also kind of, there's some darkness there as well. But so that's why I would say that this is a very unique holiday and that it's on this one man versus our other federal holidays. And I would encourage us to maybe, if not now, but in the future, think about changing our policy so that we don't honor him.
Councilmember Lopez, I'm sorry.
I appreciate the thoughtfulness which everyone's bringing to this discussion. Clearly, I just wanted to respond to a couple of things again from my own perspective. As a historian, I don't think that the answer is ever to erase history, and it's not my intention here. But part of the context with which I approach this is that I do think the water tower is a symbol of our community. It's a unifying symbol that we can all take pride in. And I think, while I respect the different perspectives on different sides, I don't think that's something divisive by its nature can unify the community. So I am concerned going forward. I do think there are community members who will be hurt and who will feel let down. I think while I understand that the good intentions of those going forward, I think there's a deep difference between recognizing and educating about the history that has happened and a celebration, which is what I see the water tower as. I think there would be plenty of opportunities to educate apart from lighting the water tower in a celebratory way. I'm not sure that all of the responsibility of that education lies on the city or the council, though we may have a part to play in it. But I just am troubled by the approach of saying, well, we should do what we've always done because it's an educational opportunity. I do think, while like I said, I don't think that I could support a motion that includes recognition of Columbus Day. Vice Mayor, appreciate your thoughtfulness, and I do think there's value at least to separating them. I think there's value in the ideas for colors that have been brought up, and I did want to weigh in that I think it probably makes sense to revisit our decision next year, whatever ends up happening, and hopefully earlier, in part because it may give us more opportunity to hear from other groups on things like colors and have that be able to be considered. But as it stands tonight, I wouldn't support a motion with Columbus Day. And I'll just to you know, again, I don't support erasing history, and yes, it's, you know, it's true that our I mean, Councilor Furtado, I think you put it perfectly in talking about the founding fathers, but I think you know, as Councilmember Scazzola was saying, and I would just add to those comments, Columbus was not a founding father. He wasn't even the first person from Europe to land on America. And so I think apart from the other reasons that folks have brought up, it makes sense to me to categorize that in the same way that we learn about our founding fathers and their own complex history, which is certainly part of the history to which I alluded. But that, for me, to put it out for the public, is where I see the separation.
Okay. I mean, there is an opportunity to change the policy tonight.
That would be I'm in support of that. But yeah, so, let's do it. Come on, guys.
I mean, why? I don't see the purpose in waiting a year to rehash this. If the council's feeling strong enough that they don't want to recognize Columbus Day as part of our schedule, then we have that option to consider this evening.
Can I chime in a little?
Mr. Landry?
I would prefer that if we are recognizing Indigenous People Day, that we go the 11th, because if we do light it on the 10th, which is everybody from a federal level is recognizing Columbus Day, I don't think the average person is going to understand that we're recognizing Indigenous People Day and not Columbus Day. So I support Elliot and Sergio in your comments. I agree about the Columbus Day problem, but then Indigenous Peoples Day should be lit a different day than the 10th, because the majority of people are not going to understand that we've made a distinguishing difference there.
Well, respectfully, most who are in support of Indigenous Peoples Day, they want to replace Columbus Day with it. So they'll understand. They'll totally get that message. I don't think that should be a concern at all.
I was just going to add, I'm not sure that Columbus Day is recognized as a specific day of the month.
I can't hear who was speaking.
And I'm sorry, Susan, it's Brian here. I'm not sure that Columbus Day is a specific date versus the Monday of the month. So it may change periodically during the years.
So on my calendar right now, it says December or October 9th is Columbus Day on my calendar, but in the memo, it talks about it being October 10th and 11th. So what day would we light the tower for Columbus Day? The 9th?
It's the second Monday of every October.
So then do what the memo says is Biden declared October 10th as Indigenous People Day. So if we light the tower on Tuesday the 10th, that is recognizing the federal decision. And then the second question is then, do we still also recognize the 9th for Columbus Day?
I think, Susan, the problem with defining the dates in the policy is every year those dates will change.
Which is why it's not currently identified.
That's why it's not currently shown with a specific date in there. It's the second Monday of every October. So I suppose if you wanted to separate them, you would say it would be the second Monday of every October, or the Tuesday following the second Monday of every October. That's the way you would have to define that.
Second Tuesday.
So the second Tuesday of the month would coincide with, if the president declared it October 10th, wouldn't it be October 10th every year?
I'm hesitant to always say it would be the second Tuesday as well. I just know because when we do council agenda and scheduling that, I don't know how that Tuesday is going to fall, and it typically would be the second Tuesday, but I would be leery to say that would be without exceptions. We would come up with the wording if that's what you want to do, Susan. We would come up with the wording with the policy to execute that, though.
For next year.
For the policy this year, we'll come up with that wording. I think it would be on the day following the second Monday of the month, the way we would list it.
I'm just saying, I think that the whole point is to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. So whenever that national holiday is, it would be replaced. That's what I'm proposing that we do.
With that motion?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll make a motion that we recognize Indigenous Peoples Day, and also, by the way, I think those colors would be great. Recognize Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day, and light up the water tower in, it was brown, blue, and green, representing earth, sky, and
nature.
Nature, that's right, exactly.
The trees.
I will second. And could I propose a friendly amendment or maybe just direction to staff if it would be helpful? We could go with however the state of California recognizes, which I think would provide some consistency and clarity since they do officially recognize it as a holiday, if that's helpful.
Yeah,
do they recognize it as a holiday on the same day as Columbus Day, or is it a separate holiday at the state level? Sergio?
I think it replaced it. It's the second Monday. But I'm open on the language. I'm just trying to help provide clarity.
Okay, sorry. Just clarifying, that was a friendly amendment to the motion.
If yeah, so accepted.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
What, let me know what it is the friendly amendment is. I just want to make sure I understand it.
To follow, so that we don't have to specify a particular day in the policy, which may change from year to year, to follow the state of California's declaration, which would be on a consistent schedule.
Okay, so there's a motion by Councilmember Scazola and a second by Councilmember Lopez to update the water tower lighting policy to remove the Columbus Day lighting and replace it with Indigenous Peoples Day on a date specified by the state of California guidelines each year. And the colors are to be green, blue, and brown.
Can I make a friendly amendment?
No.
Oh. I think we nailed it.
All I was going to say is reach out to the local tribe and ask them next year if they like those colors.
Ah, that's nice.
There was no input this year.
I like that. That is a friendly amendment.
And as the seconder, I support that.
Okay, so that do we want to reach out this year?
Well, so
I don't think it's probably time limited.
Okay.
A little friendly amendment because I don't know where that would go and then staff to report back.
I mean,
there may be a difference between different tribes.
Could we provide direction rather than having that be part of
that would probably be more appropriate.
Okay, I like that.
If I'm correct, that another person cannot recommend a friendly amendment. It has to be the.
Oh, I get it. Okay, forget it then.
Okay, how do we do this right?
So the motion is that we are replacing the Columbus Day lighting with Indigenous Peoples Day. The colors will be brown, green, and blue, and we will follow the state of California guidelines for the date each year. And there's direction to reach out to which I forget who she said.
The local tribe. It's a subset of the Ohlone tribe.
For future guidance on colors.
And just to be clear, it's not just that we're replacing the colors of Columbus, but we're
replacing Columbus.
Columbus Day
yes.
with Indigenous Day.
Yes, yes.
Correct, thank you.
Okay, may we have a roll call?
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola. Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
No. Okay, so we'll move on now to item 15, which is our legislative advocacy principles update. And our presenter is Assistant City Manager Angelique Gaeta.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. This is an update to our legislative advocacy principles policy. We brought updates to the council last year and received direction from council. These updates reflect that direction and some further vetting by our legislative subcommittee based on the experience that we had over the year through the legislative process. The updates now include changes to membership to include recommendations. As opposed to adding a third alternate member, the language has been further updated to recommend that the mayor be one of the two members of the legislative subcommittee, and also that one of the members has representation on an outside agency to support consistency across the different agencies where legislation is concerned. We also kept the recommended update from last year in terms of just making sure the policy reflects what the state calendar is for the legislative changes. We did not include the recommendation from last year that the legislative priorities identified by the city's association be included in this policy. The council felt that the guiding principles that this council and prior councils have adhered to were sufficient. We also built up the policy to include more robust language to give clarity around mostly the staff's work to be done and when we would be bringing back updates to legislation for consideration by the legislative subcommittee and how we would go about shepherdizing any position statements reflecting positions taken by the legislative subcommittee, how we would shepherd those through the state to make sure that they got to our representatives in time for votes. And then also we kept the language to a certain extent about recusal. If a member sees any type of conflict and they decide to recuse themselves, then the legislation comes to the full city council. And that addressed the concern that we not have a third alternate member. And then finally, also authorizing a member that sits on an outside agency or board to vote on issues brought before them in that venue, provided that it involved an area that was covered by our guiding principles. So those are the big high-level changes that we made. Some of the others are just edits to clean up the language and make it flow better and provide for consistency. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Angelique. Are there any questions of council? Councilmember Furtado?
Just a very brief question, and I think you really answered this, but the proposal of who should make up the legislative subcommittee is a recommendation. The mayor still has the choice of appointing, as appropriate. So
that's correct.
If the mayor wants to not be on that committee, even though it's recommended, that's fine too. I just want to make sure that that kind of flexibility exists. So
and that's exactly why we use that language for flexibility. Yes, you're correct.
Okay, I'll go to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on the item? Anyone online? I don't see anyone, so I'll bring it back to council for discussion.
I had a question. I was raising my hand. I tried to read through it. I didn't see a place where it said if the mayor will not sign what the subcommittee came up with. Say the mayor's not on the committee, because under item 2, role and makeup, it does say subcommittee shall be comprised of 2 council members who shall be chosen by the mayor each year. But then later it says the mayor is to sign the letter. But we had previous councils where the mayor refused to sign the letter. So where does it say in here what happens? Is it come to the full council then?
It still provides that the mayor will sign the position statement, which is why we have the recommendation that the mayor be one of the members. It's not required. And if the mayor doesn't sign and the city manager feels that we should bring it back before the city council, the city manager has that discretion as well.
Okay, I saw the part about the city manager discretion, but I didn't see the phrasing about if the mayor doesn't want to sign it. Well, that was my clarification.
And the city manager has discretion to bring any issue from the legislative subcommittee to the full council anyway, so it would be included in that discretion.
Got it. Thank you.
Councilmember Lopez, do you want to add anything to the?
Yeah, Angelique did a great job of covering the specifics of the changes. I just wanted the perspective, especially, in fact, I've been on the legislative subcommittee my whole time on the council. And the intent with this round of changes was really to listen to the feedback that we got last time it came up, to really, I think, incorporate every one of those. I believe that came up to allow for flexibility. But at the same time, to put down and capture some of the best practices, some of the lessons that we learned, to try to avoid some of the things that came up in the past because it wasn't provided for in the policy. So I think it's at a good place, certainly, but the desire was definitely to listen to the feedback that we got and incorporate that as much as we could.
And I'll add that it was, again, a compilation of different input from different prior councils as well as current council. And it is a working document. So if once we get into it and it's adopted and we find that it's not working or it needs to be tweaked, we have the ability to change it. So, Councilmember Lopez?
Yeah, I guess I'll add the other perspective of why I see the value of the policy and of the subcommittee, which is that the amount of legislation coming down that impacts our operations is only going to increase. And in fact, I think we did see a bit of a decrease this year, and there's a number of reasons that we got into a little bit on the subcommittee around why that is, but relative to past years. But I do see that going back up again, and so I think being able to be flexible and responsive is going to continue to be in our interest.
Thank you. So if there's no further discussion, Vice Mayor.
I'm trying not to interrupt you. I just really want to thank both of you on the subcommittee for the work and bringing this forward to us. I know we didn't write a whole lot of position papers, but the fact that you actually reviewed all of the legislation and gave it the time and consideration, I want to really thank you. And having been on this council for 7 years now, having seen how this policy does play out into the committee and what we write, I do appreciate the changes and also the staff for the work that they've done.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the updates to the Legislative Advocacy Principles Policy as recommended by the Legislative Subcommittee.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Lopez and the second by Vice Mayor Landry to approve the staff recommendation. Roll call.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Spizola. Aye. Councilmember Furtado.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Landry.
Aye.
Mayor Bybee.
Aye. Thank you. That brings us to council committee reports. Who would like to begin tonight?
I can begin. I don't have any to report.
Okay, thank you.
I also don't have any to report.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Furtado.
I'll report on things. I attended the League of California Cities meeting in Sacramento recently. It was a good meeting, very well attended by elected officials from the cities throughout the state of California. And I'm not going to report, of course, on everything, but I did want to highlight one thing, and that is the big issue there that was discussed extensively had to do with housing, of course, and the housing rules and RENA and the builder's remedy and so on. It was a very hot topic, and people had a lot of concern about the whole issue and how it has, unfolded here in California. Our planning director was there too at one of our important seminars. It was pointed out, for example, that since 2016, there were more than 100 housing laws passed in the state of California legislature. And there are currently 80 housing bills on the governor's desk. And those bills that have already become law have resulted in 275 changes to code sections. So you can see what a complex and kind of difficult issue it has become in California. And hopefully there will be further discussions about all of this in the future, and maybe we can streamline things a bit, but it makes it very confusing for any of us, of course. And I think it must be a challenge for staffs as well, even though they're well versed in all of this housing legislation. So that problem will continue, and that was just a big issue there. Secondly, I attended a workshop sponsored by the Silicon Valley Regional Interoperability Authority. The authority over the years has operated really quite well. It is well funded for the things that we do. The maintenance and system upgrade agreement costs approximately $2.3 million a year. And there are a number of expenses, but fortunately, our budget provides for that, and we've still been able to put money into our reserve for the future. But one thing that was pointed out in this particular workshop was that in the future, and I don't mean the near future, but a little further future, we are going to have to upgrade and replace the capital infrastructure, so-called lifestyle planning. The current Motorola platform is about 25 years old. So we have to start planning for that now, because that bill will, the upgrade costs are estimated to be about $47.5 million. And in the 29 to 31 timeframe, we will need to generate, an extra $26 million or so. So we talked about potential solutions and how the cities may start to address that. And no decisions have been made. Whether we start to put aside a greater amount of money and ask cities to contribute more, whether we go for some type of bond or elective process in this regard is undecided. But the nice thing is things are operating very well. It's an important system to this whole county interoperability. And it's good that the staff has brought this to our attention to start planning early so that we can look at a lot of potential solutions that might work, and that maybe we make some decisions early on so that the fund, by the time we need the money, will have been built up to that. So that's about all the detail I need to go into at this point. I just wanted to make you aware of it. So that's my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Lopez.
Thank you. And I was just trying to track down all the different ones that I'd had, so I didn't lose count. And I still might have missed one or two, but we had a meeting of the Silicon Valley Clean Energy Audit Committee where we kicked off our annual audit. And was very impressed with the work and the diligence and transparency there. We had a meeting of the board directors of the Air District and received a very interesting report and letter from kind of a blue ribbon panel that was assembled from the community, from people with incredible public health experience, that was looking at particulate matter from wildfire smoke and the health impacts of that. And so there was no formal board action or formal recommendation, but I think it's going to continue to be an area that the board looks at. And ironically, that very week that we were meeting, we're feeling the impact from as we were there and getting some alerts in the following couple of days about impacts from wildfires up north. I had a meeting of the VTA Safety, Security, and Transit Planning Operations Committee, which is a long and unwieldy acronym, but essentially touches on all aspects of VTA's operations. And a really interesting common theme that came out of that is one, which I think I've shared before, but not everyone might know, is that VTA is actually number 2 in the nation for recovery compared to pre-pandemic levels. So we're actually doing quite well. We're ahead of all our peers in the region. I think the only one ahead of us is DC, I believe. But we're doing well coming back to pre-pandemic levels. But the bigger theme that arose out of really all the different items that came forward, of which there were a number, and that I kind of pointed out to staff and sparked some really interesting discussions, is that what patterns and service levels are going to need to look like after after the pandemic is actually likely going to be different than pre-pandemic, because service levels have changed, consumer behavior has changed, events are a bigger part of just our lives than ever. I think there's that desire to get back to those community events, as we heard about today. And so I did bring up, are there partnerships that we can do to bring people downtown to Campbell for those events? That's something that they're really looking at. But increasingly, the trends, the overall numbers are good, but a higher and higher share of the ridership that we're seeing is on Saturdays, because that's when everybody's trying to get out to a concert or event or fair or what have you. And we saw that with Taylor Swift and Beyonce coming in, and VTA did some creative initiatives around that. And so my comment was, let's plan for the next year, plan proactively and really take advantage, and then turn those weekend riders, new riders, really into regular riders. So I think some really exciting things happening that we're really on the forefront of among our peers, and some opportunities to come back actually stronger than we were. We, along with the mayor, I attended the open house and ribbon cutting for Senator Josh Becker's new office. He represents kind of the peninsula area, but starting in 2024, I believe, will be our next state Senate representative. And so it was great to have a strong showing from Campbell there among our other peers. And I think that's probably most of them, although I may have missed one or two.
Thank you. I attended the Silicon Valley Animal Control Authority Board, the quarterly meeting, and it was primarily a consent agenda, so nothing really too exciting to report. I also attended the West Valley Mayors and Managers meeting with our city manager, and the community health fair hosted by Assemblymember Mark Berman last Saturday at Castlemont Park, or Castlemont School, and it was well attended. Lots of vendors and a great community event. So, and that's it.
Sorry, Mayor. I did have one more. I also attended the League of Cities and was sworn in as treasurer of the League of California Cities local Peninsula Division. But more importantly, the reason I wanted to bring that up is that the League of Cities has an event coming up on October 6th. That's open to the public. It's taking place in Mountain View. It is a luncheon, so lunch will be provided. That's October 6th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the topic of mental health, with representatives from the local, county, and state level. And I know that's been a topic our youth commission brought up. The council has discussed it. So I'd encourage anyone to attend. If anyone's interested and has trouble with the registration, let me know, and I'll be glad to help folks out. But I did want to invite folks to that as well.
Thank you. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Bye, Susan.